Go.
Hello there. I'm going to make this morning a tuna niçoise salad. It's a classic. It should be full of colour, bursting with flavour. I'm going to talk you through the ingredients first. The star of the show will be the tuna, and I'm using a fresh tuna steak this morning. I've got a couple of beauties here. I'll cook one of them off shortly. Tuna is it's an easy fish to work with because it takes seconds to cook. Bit of a meaty texture to it, more about that later. So I'm going to char grill it on a cast iron griddle pan and it'll be perfect. So that's our tuna. In terms of the salad, we want a nice little bit of crispy lettuce. I've got a little gem here, perfect, and I've just cleaned it through, and all I'm going to need to do is just take the leaves off that, it'll be fine. A little bit of tomato, I've opted for cherry tomatoes, nice burst of colour. Black olives are a classic ingredient. A hard-boiled egg, that's always in a tuna niçoise salad. Green beans, just blanched off about 4 minutes. New potatoes, just cooked through, they took about 10 minutes. And, my favourite ingredient, apart from the tuna, anchovies. You will often find anchovies in a tuna niçoise salad. You can use tinned and they're absolutely fine. I just find them a little bit salty. These are my favourite ingredient, and they are the little marinated fresh anchovies. You can buy them from the delicatessen counter, any supermarket. They are fabulous, and in fact I'm very tempted to get stuck into those, but I'm going to avoid that for the moment. So first things first, I'm going to put the salad together. Now the tuna is going to take maximum 2.5 minutes to cook, 3 at the outset, so we don't need to do that yet. I'm going to do that as the last thing. I'm actually going to put together the salad first of all. Take yourselves, you can either use a flat plate. I quite like these sort of gourmet soup style plates or pasta bowls. That's a little vintage one I've had for years and I love this, so it'll be quite nice for my salad. So take your gem lettuce. I might, as I say, I have cleaned it quite well and then just given it a little bit of a dry on some kitchen paper so that it's not too, I think I might leave those fairly full actually, because they're quite sweet and they should be nice and crispy at this time of year. So that's our salad base, our lettuce base. Take yourselves a handful of your new potatoes. Bearing in mind these have been cooked already, I'm just going to slice them up and arrange them very haphazardly, for want of a better word, in amongst my little lettuce leaves here. Take your tomatoes. I'm using cherry tomatoes. You can use plum or vine tomatoes, anything with a bit of flavour. And remember, don't keep your tomatoes in the fridge. Keep them out. Even in summer. Summer you might have to pop them in the fridge, you know, overnight. But generally speaking, keep your tomatoes out because they will ripen. You stick them in the fridge, that will arrest the ripening process, it'll arrest the flavour developing, and they don't taste of anything. Okay, we're all right on the tomatoes, I think. Some green beans, I'm just going to throw in a handful of my green beans. As I say, they've been cooked already, so just arrange those like so. Black olives. You can see the colours developing in this salad now. That's the point of a tuna niçoise salad. You want lots of colour going through. I might leave those whole actually. So again, just dot them around so you've got an even... There we go. And then the next thing, I'm going to put the hard-boiled egg through. I'm going to quarter that. I prefer my eggs fairly well done. You can, I mean I gave that egg about 8 minutes. You can, if you like it a little bit softer, that's fine. I prefer it like that, I must be honest. My beautiful anchovies, my little anchovy fellows. Just pop those through very, very delicately. And then I'm going to move over now. So that's really been an assembly job of my tuna niçoise salad. I'm going to pop over now to the stove here. I've got my grill pan on. Now that's been on for a few minutes just to get nice and heated up. You need your grill pan, your char grill pan, really, really hot because I want the sear lines to appear on my tuna steak. You'll see here I've got 2 bowls. I've got a bowl of oil and I've got a bowl of water. The water, I always keep that to hand when I'm char grilling, because if you do that with the water, if it does that, which is sizzle and evaporate straight away, you know that the pan's hot enough. People say to me, do you oil the food? Do you oil the pan? Personally, I oil as the fancy takes me, and that's honest. So I've oiled the pan here. It's a fairly well used pan, it's a fairly well seasoned pan, so that should be fine. I'm just going to paint a tiny bit of oil, really the residue on my brush, straight on. That's what you want to hear with a griddle pan, that the food starts straight away, sizzling straight away, and then you know it's hot enough. Now, another key thing to remember when you're char grilling is leave the food on the grill pan. Don't start faffing about with it, because you won't get those sear lines, you see, so you need to leave that tuna steak. 1 minute. Tuna is a very obliging food to cook with, because it's bright, you know, it's got that lovely sort of aubergine purple hue, but as it cooks it goes grey. So you can clearly see when it starts to cook from the bottom, and you can clearly see when you need to turn it over. I want it a little bit rare in the middle, so I want a band of purple through the middle of that tuna, so that'll be fine. While that's happening, we can make up the dressing. And I'm going to use a classic French dressing for my tuna niçoise. So I've got 2 parts olive oil, got a really nice extra virgin olive oil, really good colour to that. 2 parts olive oil, 1 part vinegar. You can use wine vinegar. I've got sherry vinegar here. I like a sherry vinegar because I like the colour. Nice depth of colour in that. You also want a little Dijon mustard. And I'm using just a scant teaspoon of Dijon mustard. This is a jolly old, it's too ferocious. There we are. Good old whisk, and that has brought that together, no problem. I'm keeping an eye on my tuna, that's ready to turn, so I'm just going to take my implements and turn that very, very quickly. Again, any residual oil you can just paint over the top. Take your tuna steak, just lift it gently, gently, gently straight over. Beautiful. Another minute, that's going to be cooked. I'm going to taste this dressing, excuse me. And that just needs seasoning up now. So some nice fresh ground black pepper, good pinch of sea salt, little whisk, not quite so vigorous that time, and that's perfect. So the dressing is ready. My tuna steak actually is about a second away from being cooked. In a lot of recipes, if you're out in a little cafe having lunch, you will often see tuna niçoise salad on the menu, and you will often see it and you'll expect to be served it with tinned tuna. In my view, that's not so much a food crime as a quick lunch. So that's absolutely fine. If you're at home and you want to throw yourself together a lovely salad, tinned tuna is fine. If, however, you are wanting to cook a nice little lunch for a friend, or you want a lovely starter, you've got people coming over for lunch, for an evening meal, and you want a nice little starter, then really you want the fresh tuna steak, and that's going to be the star of the show. Back over now, and we've got this beautiful salad, I must say, very, very colourful. With the tuna, now that's perfect. Can you see there, stripy? That's what you want, that band of lovely raw tuna. And I'm just going to break that up. You don't need to do anything else to it. Break that up and put that so that you've got your pieces showing. Where's my lovely dressing? Here we are. Let's have plenty of that on. Like so. Drizzle that over well. Beautiful. Let's get that out of the way. And that is our tuna niçoise salad. The last little flourish, just a touch of seasoning on that. And there you have it. Tuna Nicoise salad. All that's missing is a glass of white wine, chilled.